Hi, so quite a few of you would have seen the little Hexie coasters that I have been selling on my little shop, and I made a lot of Christmassy ones this year, and they found lots of lovely homes, and I thought you might like to see how these are made and maybe have a go at making one yourself. Also, something you might not have seen is you can put them all together and make big placemats. So these are just the little ones, and then one in the middle, and then all the others sewn and attached. So we've got lots of little different fussy cuts in the middle, and then on the back we've got lots of Christmas fabrics. So it looks good either way. But this makes a really good size placemat. But it's just lots of these, 7 of these sewn together. So to make the little Hexie coasters, I've been using a template that my dad 3D printed for me many years ago. And he printed this for me to actually cut out hexagons to do big English paper piecing quilts. But it was the perfect size. And so I drew and adapted a hexagon around it to make the second half the outer. But my very clever son has now 3D printed some Candy Allium templates. So not only do you have the full size for the background, you also have, inside you have the piece for the inner, and this shows you exactly how much of the fabric will get folded over. You can see exactly which bits will be visible, and the same with the inner. When you place this on your fabric, you can place it perfectly because you can see exactly what will be visible and exactly what will get covered up by the backing. So you can see here, this is the bit that would have been visible, and then that's where the back, what would have covered the background. And look, how cute is this? They go together perfectly. And they've got a little reminder, this is the outer and the inner, two-tone, very clever. And these will be available to buy as well if you want to buy a little kit or you just wanted to get the template and have a go with your own things. So there we go. Okay, so what do you need to make these little coasters? You need a template. You can cut your own, absolutely, or you can get one of these really clever ones, which looks cool. So you need a template for the outer and for the inner. You need some fabric for your inner. Now I happen to have a pack of charm squares here. So these are 5-inch squares, pre-cut, and all pre-coordinated, so you don't have to actually think or do any tricky decisions. You could just pick any of them and they'd look great. So I'm going to use these just for the inside. So you can see with that template, they fit perfectly on a 5-inch square without much wasted. However, you can see it's not going to fit for the outer. So I have chosen some fabric that I happen to have in my stash. So this was a 1/2 meter that I had. And I think that will probably go with pretty much everything in here. So I'm going to do you an example using these. So we've got background, inner, and then you need some batting. So the batting is the bit that goes inside a quilt to make it all soft and warm. This is 80% cotton, 20% polyester. I use that because it washes nicely. But yeah, you can use any kind of batting. You can get it anywhere. It will be included in kits when I put them together, or you can get your own. Okay, so what do we need? We need to cut using the small inner. We need to choose our inners, the bits that are going to show on the top, these bits. And we need to cut a piece of batting the same size. And then we need to cut a background piece using the larger one. Okay, so let's get on with that. So let's go, we'll just go straight from the top, nice, bold. Okay, so place your Hexie on it. If you've got a pattern with a feature on it, you might want to place it really carefully. So for example, this one with the otters, I placed this one so that he was exactly in the center when I was done, and the same down here with Snoopy. But if you've got a print, it won't matter too much. You can kind of pick your spot really. So put your Hexie over it. I'm using a rotary cutter, be careful they're sharp. If you haven't got one, you can just draw around it with a pencil or a pen on the back and cut it that way if that's easier for you. So I'm just going to cut the edges off of this. one, that one, that one. And because this is 3D printed, it's got some depth to it, so you can move the cutter up against it really nicely, and it grips nicely too. Okay, there we go. So we've got our inside hexagon cut, and we've got some scraps. Pop a scrap in there. Okay, I need to cut a piece of batting the same size as the inner. So I'll just go ahead and do that. So same again, round, and be careful of your fingers, these are sharp. And round and okay, there we go. So we've got two pieces now. So we've got our inner, which will go nicely there on our piece of batting. And then we're going to cut our outer, our background as well. So this will go on the back of the hexagon. And we'll fold over to make the edges and bind it all the way around, which is handy. So 1, 2, 3. Ooh, just move that then. Okay. There. Okay, so put that over to the side. Facing up, I can use this centre piece now to centre both the batting and my little inner. So I know now that that is right in the centre. Look, I can even push it down so it's nice and flush all the way around it. And then we can just use a pin. You can use more than one pin if you feel you need to. There's no shame in that. Pop a pin in the middle. Oh, did that badly. There, pop a pin in the middle. And now I know it's secure, it's going to stay put. And when I take it away, it's all perfectly centered. Simple so far. Okay, the next step, you'll need an iron. Now, I have an issue with ironing at the moment, which I will show you. Hi, George. Not helpful. He likes it because the ironing mat is warm. So, let me show you first. What we've got to do is we are going to fold these edges in half. So fold them so that they're flush with the edge of the inner, and then you fold it over again. Okay, and that will give you a perfect 1/2 inch border, and then pin that edge. Okay, I'm going to go around and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to go around the whole way, folding it over. So we fold it over and then fold it over, and you'll see, or you should see, that the corners will start to match up, and use that as a guide. So if you can't get to the iron like me and you're doing this by eye, then you can fold it over, and if those little corners meet, then you're not far off. Okay, I'm going to pin that one, push that down. Okay, so I'm going to go around the whole of this and then fold and fold. Oh, yeah, so that one wasn't quite right, so that fold's gone a bit askew. That's okay. Fold and fold. There we go. And pin. I don't think I have any straight pins left. That's awkward. That means you all know that I don't take the pins out when I sew. Right, keep going. And fold. There we go. And as you do this, it feels a bit puffy and bumpy, and you kind of think, well, this isn't going to work, but you have to trust this process. So once they're sewn, and we give them a little iron, they sit perfectly. Trust me. Okay, and then the last one. So you get to the last one, it's just a little diddy one. So because you've got folds on both sides, it's quite satisfying, this one. Fold and then it fits perfectly in that gap. And pin. Okay, right, look at that. So now we've got our inner all folded around nicely around the outside and pinned, it looks all lumpy and bumpy as if this is never going to work on the back. Trust me. Okay, what we're going to do next, we could, if I'd used the right pins and if I had access to it, we could iron this and press it flat to start with, or we can just sew round now and iron it afterwards. Okay, so we're at the machine. So we're going to go around this, we're going to sew around it. We want to sew just over the edge, so right on the edge where it folds over. So I'll hold that down. I'm going to use a simple zigzag stitch because I think pretty much every machine has a zigzag stitch, or if you've got a fancy machine and you want to, you can use any of the decorative stitches. They all look really good. But let's just do a simple zigzag stitch for now. So we're going to center it on the edge so that the zigzag catches both pieces, and we're just going to slowly work our way around. As we get to the corner there, we're going to lift and pivot and then just keep on moving around. Okay, and then take the pins out as you go. And we go, get to the corner, and lift and pivot. Take this one out. There we go. Oh, so what happens here, sometimes when you approach the corner, it ruffles up. Just lift your foot, push it back down, and carry on. Just keep an eye on that one. But you can always use the pin and lift your foot and just push it back in, just to make sure that it's all lying nice and flat. Okay, here we go. And here we're slowly working our way around. And you'll see that it's starting to make it sit really nice and flat. I promised you, didn't I, that it wouldn't stay lumpy and bumpy. You have to trust. Okay. And this is the last edge, so it goes pretty quickly once you get going. And then just finish it off. There we go. Okay. And we've got all sewn round, nicely finished. I'll take it over to the table, we can have a proper look. Okay, there we go. So we've gone round, we can just tidy up that one loose thread there. Just finish those. And we've gone round, we've sewn all the edges down nice and flat. We've got a nice zigzag stitch on the back. And what did I say? Look how smooth and flat that is. And I haven't even ironed it yet, because I still can't. But they sit really nice and smooth. You've got a little bit of puff in the middle, which is perfect. And we've got one made. So to make one of these, you'd need 7. We've got one in the middle and then one for each of the 6 sides. So I'll go ahead and make some more and I'll show you some different configurations and how to sew them all together. Okay, here we are. So I have made 6 more, as you can see, and I've arranged them in the order of the petals, the flower basically, with one in the middle and them all around the outside. So you can arrange them like this if you wanted to make a big placemat, or you could just put them together in 3s. These make quite a nice little mat for like a plant pot. You could do 4 if you wanted, or you could, and this is why it's called Quilt As You Go, you could just keep building them up and make basically a whole quilt this way. So once you sew them together, they're done. There's no next stage to it, which is why it's called Quilt As You Go. So you could build up a whole quilt like this. But let's say for today, we're going to sew them together to make a petal. So to do that, we stick with our zigzag stitch. We'll need to make it a bit bigger than we've had before. So we have our 2 pieces and then we line them up like this, and then we're going to zigzag. We're going to zigzag along this seam here. Okay? Okay, so we're going to go to the machine. We're just going to butt the two edges up against each other. So we'll just hold them in place. We don't want them to overlap. We literally just want them to touch in the middle. And we're going to use that middle line as the guide for the center of our foot and the center of our zigzag. Okay, so pop that down. And we're going to zigzag so that we catch each side with each zigzag. And there we go. So you can see that that's zigzagged down and it's now neatly sewed together. So we'll get the next piece and you can get the idea. So now we could zigzag down this seam and then we can pivot and join it to the next one along. And we carry on in this way until we've sewn them all together. And when we get to our last piece, we're going to have 3 edges to sew. So we'll go along, down, along, and then back up. Okay, there we go, all sewn together. And look, we've got a pretty flower-shaped placemat. Great for a dinner placemat or a plant pot or a centerpiece. You've got all the lovely bright colours there. On the back, obviously all of your background. If you wanted to line those up, you could. I quite like it, a bit random. And we've got zigzag stitches. You could use decorative stitches on these, anything that will catch both sides. And you could just keep building this up to make a whole piece of fabric, or you could just make lots of these. And they're all made using the template. So you've got your outer for your backing, the inner for the centers, and then you use this for positioning. And these will be available to buy just as they are, or I can also compile some kits. And look how cute are these, all 3D printed by my son Dylan. There we go. So that's it. The Hexie coasters turned into placemats. Great for using up scraps, or if you've got some charm packs. Yeah, what a great fun project.